So now let's take a roll call, please.
Fish?
Well, I want to begin by thanking Mayor Hales and Commissioner Novick for managing a very complicated process under a, shall we say, challenging timeline. I have found the public process informative and productive, and it has helped shape my view of this issue. I also want to thank the Citizen Committee that worked diligently to forward thoughtful recommendations to the City Council. Tonight I'm going to focus largely on Uber for two reasons. If this matter was simply about Lyft, I would probably have a different view. And to my knowledge, Lyft has not operated illegally in our community. Now, recently my office has been flooded with emails, tweets, and phone calls from people joining the Uber chorus. And they include the Oregonian Editorial Board, the Portland Business Alliance, the travel industry, tech companies, members of my family, and others. As my colleagues know, however, I have been a skeptic from the beginning. Let me be clear about something. I am no apologist for the taxi industry, which I think would benefit from competition and which could use significant service improvements. And I say that as someone that, because I no longer have a car, uses taxis along with buses and Max and other kinds of transportation. At the same time, I am not anti-rideshare, but I don't like bullies. And I don't care for people and businesses that act like the rules don't apply to them. A valet once told Winston Churchill that he was very rude. And he responded, "Yes, but I am a great man." Unfortunately, that's Uber's business model. They operate illegally in cities around the globe while claiming that they are a great and innovative company. That, in fact, is what they did here in Portland. In fact, it's a metaphor for our economy as a whole. The big and powerful play by one set of rules, while everyone else plays by another set of rules. I was struck recently that a number of Wall Street firms that were bailed out by taxpayers during the Great Recession reported record profits. At the same time, one of the families featured in American Winter, right here in Oregon, is facing the foreclosure of their home. I've applied a number of filters to this process, and my decision-making has been guided by a set of values about a level playing field, about protecting low-income families and people with disabilities, about protecting health and safety of riders, and about ensuring compliance with our laws. Thanks to the Mayor and Commissioner Novick, we've seen measurable progress in all of these categories, progress that has frankly eluded cities across the country. In fact, I've made by executive order, I'm asking them both to handle all my negotiations in the future. Except for the insurance issue and some of the other regulatory pieces, I'm frankly less concerned when, not if, my 22-year-old daughter uses Uber. But something still troubles me about companies that don't play by the rules. And here are some examples. Despite what we've heard throughout this process, Uber is currently operating illegally in cities across the globe, operating in a way that puts the public at great risk because there's no regulatory framework. Uber's user agreement is one of the most anti-consumer documents I've ever read. It disclaims liability and it shifts legal risks to drivers and passengers. That may be the new economy, but we don't have to embrace it. And they're using the best lawyers across the country to enforce the terms of their one-sided agreements. Let's look at the Americans with Disabilities Act, something that we celebrate as a community. Uber says it doesn't apply to them. They dismiss it and say, we're not a public accommodation and we're not a transportation service. And when the Justice Department got involved, they just added more lawyers. Really? Uber classifies their drivers as independent contractors. They're not owners and they're not employees. And for those of us who care about maintaining wage standards, last I checked, it means they don't have any rights to organize and to fight for better wages and conditions. Now, Uber has said the right things throughout this proceeding, and there's an old adage, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Well, that adage applies to another so-called innovator in our community, part of the sharing economy, that's called Airbnb. They're another Silicon Valley juggernaut making money hand over fist. And even after we worked with them to establish regulations for operating legally in our city, and the mayor welcomed them on reasonable terms, 95%, by the last estimates, of hosts are still not complying with our laws, so we can't guarantee that guests are safe. Airbnb says all the right things, but they still grant access to their platform to hosts who refuse to follow community standards. Uber, I might add, is belatedly saying all the right things. In fact, they're being lauded now for taking a kinder, gentler approach in Portland. At the end of the day, for me, it's deeds, not words, that matter. And their track record speaks loudly about their corporate ethics. On the basis of the record before us, I'm not ready to greenlight an experiment in deregulation where things could go horribly wrong for consumers. Until Uber and other companies like them demonstrate they are willing to change their ways and operate by reasonable rules, I'm not really ready to welcome them to Portland. I believe that you trust.
Hey, folks,
please.
please.
I believe in the concept of trust, but verify. It will take more than an army of publicists and strategists, political consultants, and a loud social media campaign to to convince me to trust Uber. They will have to earn my trust over the next 120 days. I respectfully vote no.
Saltzman?